Welcome everybody to the Realberg Experience, a podcast for creative individuals from all walks of life. We talk to rap stars, politicians, photographers, you name it. Maintain and entertain, I bet the show gon' get famous. So go and take a seat and let the people get to meet the innovative individual that you will be. Let's go.
Welcome everybody to the Realberg Experience, the podcast for creative individuals from all walks of life. I am your host, DP. Today we are welcoming a special guest. He is known around town for getting your life in order. When I say getting your life in order, I mean aligning that spine. I myself have had the experience of laying on that table, and most of the time, I'm not into guys touching on me, but this is one guy that can put his hands on me. He's also known for his health talks and whatnot around town. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome Ryan Barnett. How you doing today, Ryan?
I mean, after that introduction, how do you not be doing good?
I've been practicing.
Start my day off right now. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's things are going well, man. A lot on my plate right now. A lot of excitement. A lot of new challenges, new experiences.
Definitely.
This is my first podcast ever, actually.
This is probably my fifth.
Fifth?
Yeah. It's fun though. It's fun.
Yeah, I've listened to 3 of yours so far. I've enjoyed them.
Something I can see you doing actually, because you definitely you speak well. I've watched a lot of your videos as well, and I enjoy them definitely, and they're very informative.
Thank you. I've thought about it. Here's the problem as a healthcare professional, right? The word doctor, and I think a lot of people maybe don't recognize this, and I wonder if sometimes doctors don't recognize this. The word doctor means teacher. And so if you're going to go into a profession, you have to live by your title. You need to live by, in my profession, the ability to meet people on their terms, because people come in with problems, issues, complaints about their health and a number of array of different things, not only for me as a chiropractor, but in all medical fields. The transition happens, though, when you can start to move them more to a more health and well-being minded way when it comes to how they honor their body, when it comes to how they take care of their health. That only is achieved through teaching, through support, and through empowerment. Very hard to do in 2 or 3 minutes. You can give people snippets, little things to chew on. But does that create that shift you need sometimes? Health is our most valuable possession. And a lot of the times with things that are really important, you can't just take a little, throw it at the dartboard here and there and see where it sticks.
Yeah, it's true.
You have to rage out of that cage. You have to take off like a rocket, like a tiger with his back up against the wall sometimes. And that's what it takes to change. So when you can start to help people grasp the importance of their health, grasp the importance that it's their most valuable possession, grasp the importance that we only get one shot at life. There's nothing bigger than life. And there's really a crossroads we all see. We can break down and fall apart because we pour gasoline on our body, we stomp on it, we misuse it, we abuse it, we don't honor it like a temple. Instead, we treat it more like a barn. Or we can see what real potentials and capabilities as humans we are capable of, that we have inside of us, this ultimate limitless potential. If you challenge yourself in a direction and then retrospectively you look back as you move forward, it's amazing what you learn, what you accomplish, and what you're able to do. 5 short podcasts later, I already look at you as someone that presents the truth, that asks people about difficult choices that they're having, someone who wants something better for other individuals. And that's how long you've been doing this?
Podcasting? Less than a month.
Less than a month?
Yeah.
And it's been a massive improvement and jump in such a short period of time. When people challenge themselves, it's incredible what we're capable of doing. As long as we remember we have that choice to break down or fall apart or challenge ourselves on a daily basis. And if we do, our mind and our body is going to give it all it's got because ultimately it wants to thrive. Every cell, tissue, and organ in our body is replacing itself every single day. And the way you honor and treat and the decisions you make dictate what those cells are going to do when those new ones are replaced. If you're doing positive, constructive, survival value choices for your being, then your body is healing in a direction for something better. What's healing? Well, it's different for a lot of people. But to me, healing is serving yourself in a way that serves others. And not only when it comes to my practice, but hopefully and fortunately, as I continue on this District 6 City Commission run, hopefully it's a way that I can contribute to our community in that way too. Because I don't see a better way to maintain and hold on to a sense of happiness than make a difference in other people's lives. And for me, that's a big part of the mission and why I got into it.
So for the people that don't know, explain to me what District 6 is.
Key West has 6 districts and we have a mayor. Each district has its own perimeter or circumference. My district is from Francis Street all the way to Fort Street and then from Southern Street over to South Street. Now the highlights of that district would be Upper and Middle Duval, be the cemetery. I live close to the cemetery over by Five Brothers. Five Brothers, part of my district. It would be the southernmost point. It would be the whole area behind my office on Catherine Street. And it would be Bahama Village. So it's a very eclectic district. It has a lot of different things that could be potentially brought up and addressed. And it's something that takes a constant enthusiasm and energy to be able to keep up with. Because it's, in my opinion, one of the fastest changing districts on a regular basis. And as a younger individual, the need and desire and recognition, especially as a small business owner, I mean, you're a great example of that once again. You feel like you probably adapt and reinvent yourself every month?
100%.
100%.
Definitely.
And so in my district, I think that is more important than ever. It's changing faster than ever. You know, one of the people I'm running against Commissioner Lopez and John Wilson Smith. Well, Commissioner Lopez has served. He's done a great job. If you follow my campaign, you understand I have nothing but respect for Commissioner Lopez. However, what I would like to see is in this rapidly and fast-changing environment we find ourselves in, we're in a public health crisis. We're in an economic crisis. We're in a social justice crisis. There's about no place you look that feels normal anymore. So as normalcy no longer exists, we need people that are willing to commit to being as adaptable to the changing environment as humanly possible if we're going to get the best outcome and representation, not only for the city of Key West, but specifically for me, the district I represent, which is District 6.
So, what are some of the issues in District 6 that you would want to tackle first? I know parking is one of them issues. I don't even live back there, but I hear a lot about parking. It's amazing how, since I've been doing these interviews, I've become a politician. I have people running up to me from everywhere, asking me, what is this? And why did you?
And I absolutely get those questions. I hesitate because when I got into wanting to make a difference for our community, I got into it to start off singularly focused on the district. Because it's the district that I wanted to see different representation for. I didn't want to see different representation for all of Key West. I didn't want to focus on all of Key West. I wanted the successes of my district to then create the byproduct of a more successful Key West. However, the reason I'm kind of prefacing this is because all of a sudden, all of Key West is now a bigger problem than just a district. COVID, the public health crisis. This is not just a District 6 issue, and it's obviously one of the biggest issues happening right now. All of our small businesses getting closer and closer to closing their doors. Our federal stimulus money for the people that received it, small business-wise, is getting close. I've heard many small business owners say that. Not to mention, we have bars that are approaching 100 days closed. Not to mention, all events have been canceled. And there doesn't look like currently there's an end in sight. So where, as a small business owner, we need hope. If I go in every day and I don't have the hope that I can support my family, that I can do what I love wholeheartedly, I can be as passionate, I can have the freedom to continue to try to build and grow. It's what we like to do. We like to grow. It's one of my favorite things about owning small businesses. I'm always challenged, so I'm always growing. One of my neighbors at my office, Dante Harper, one of the things, because it's Dante, it's me here on the corner. If you don't know, my office is on the corner of Catherine and White Street. Then I have the local butcher, and then I have Flex Key West. So I get the privilege of talking to Dante Harper on a regular basis. And one of the things I admire most about him, but I also see in myself and why I enjoy talking to Dante, is because he's always trying to make people better. But yet simultaneously, he's always challenging himself to make himself better. So we get in a mode where we need an opportunity as small business owners to continue to do that, to continue to challenge ourselves, to continue to make us better, to circle back around. And we're running out of those options to do such things. And when that happens, we're going to see more and more small businesses lock their doors. So we have to address the small business crisis right now, more than just District 6. Sure, my district has upper and middle Duval. So yes, without a doubt, I'm going to have to address it as part of my district. But one of the big reasons I jumped in was because this is what I was worried about. I was worried that we were going to see massive small business closure. And I was worried that it was going to be in part because of what government was going to do relative to the type of regulations they are willing to impose on us. And government, as we now can reflect and see, has more of a say in how small businesses conduct themselves now than ever. So as an individual, as a citizen, as a community member, as someone that's passionate about representation for people, and that's really what commission is about. We can talk about exactly what commissioners do, but representation is for people. I jumped in because I also understood that now small business needs to have a say in government just the same way government is having a say in small business. And so having an opportunity to be on that dais, having an opportunity to have a say in a truly meaningful way in government, having a vote that is the deciding factor on where certain decisions go, and knowing that small business is going to be continued to represented better and better, I think is one of the most critical things. Not just for small businesses, but for people and for humanity. And that might sound deep, and I know I'm talking a little too much on this. I think right now, and I'm going to kind of compare the two, and we can go a little deeper in each direction depending on where you feel. But to me, small business is our independent economy. It is the freedom metric for us maintaining our civil rights. If we lose more and more small business, we're going to lose the opportunity to have representation, civil rights, social justice, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, progress when it comes to the growth of people. Because small business is a check and balance for those things. These are the people that stand up and fight and are willing to and get it and get that we need progress. Because if you're going to have an economy that's not based on corporate greed and corporate interest and corporate belief systems, you have to have a massively powerful movement when it comes to our small business population. And right now we are running the risk of losing so much of that. And when that happens, the only thing that takes place next is corporate interests grow. And as people, we lose more and more of a say, and we lose more and more of an opportunity to have a voice. And what does a corporation care about the environment?
And you know about this a lot because you have a background from Key West, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And what is that?
Well, I was born in Key West. Yeah. I grew up here, but my parents went their separate ways to no fault of their own. They just weren't in agreement on being able to live together under one roof.
Yeah.
And it was for the best. So when my parents divorced, I moved up to Gainesville, Florida. And I moved up with my mom, and my dad stayed here for a good period of time because at that period, we owned Pamper Pet, the pet store. And so I had an opportunity to always come visit my dad. My grandma still lives here. My aunt and uncle still live here. So a lot of family was still here, but I moved up and started to go to school in Gainesville. With the understanding that Key West was where I truly felt at home. And my long-term vision was to be home. And that opportunity presented itself, and I haven't looked back since I've been here. But I also gave me a bigger picture of the fact that I want more people that are from Key West to do the same thing again. There's no one that cares more about Key West than the people that grew up here. But in a lot of ways, there's no place for a lot of them to come back to as far as where to live, opportunities that they have. And so then they find themselves not returning. And we lose more people that are young, energetic, and able to create a positive shift for our community as a result of not having a sustainable way to support our young workforce and our young people. And to me, that has to change.
So how did you get to be Ryan Barnett? Were you always deep, were you always like digging behind, getting deep into things?
The short answer is yes, without a doubt. I was a runner in high school. I actually ended up getting a track scholarship to the University of Florida.
Oh,
I was a miler. I used to run the mile. And so you spend a lot of time on your own, pounding the pavement, thinking, critically thinking about all the different ways life could go and what that really means to you. I also, as much as that was Ryan Barnett because of some of my experience, another thing that for a long time, my first job was McDonald's. My second job was working at a package store. Construction was my third job. And when I was doing those jobs, what I found is the thing I enjoyed the most was connecting with people, sharing a laugh with people, even if it was for 20 seconds while I was taking their change at the drive-thru or at the package store, the liquor store. Just everyone loves the person selling them alcohol, but having a genuine conversation that left them with just a little more was something that I walked away always feeling good about as a kid. To me, that was something I used to tell my parents, I don't know what I'll do, but I want to make sure I can have that feeling on a daily basis. And if I would have only found that being a cashier somewhere, then I would still consider that very possibly as what I do, what I did. But But thankfully, you can evolve your idea of something and continue to try to create it more meaningful. So to me, one of the ultimate expressions of that is helping guide people through the healing process of life. Certainly, symptoms are what people notice when it comes to the physical manifestation of issues. But in all my years, I can tell you that, and certainly one of the things I go very, very far down the path to try to explain people is the physical realm, the physical side of our health is just scratching the surface. That we have to be deeply connected to the understanding that there's a spiritual side to our health, there's a mental side to our health, there's an emotional side to our health, and then finally, after you go through those three, there's a physical side of your health. You could call it a hierarchy of health. You could visualize a pyramid even. And at the top of the pyramid is your spiritual center. If you're disconnected at your spiritual center, and I hope everyone can at least see the possibility for this. Even though you might not believe me, you might think, oh, well, how do you get so metaphysical all of a sudden? Regardless, if people could just, with an open mind, think about this. If you're disconnected from your spiritual center, meaning what guides you, what brings you a vision, what brings you a potential for purpose or for something bigger than yourself, if you're disconnected from that, then everything below it is disconnected as well. It's affected. So all of a sudden, spiritually, you don't have a ground. You don't have something to come back to. Well, mentally, you're going to find yourself off the path of maybe what everyone's path is different. That's the most beautiful thing about life, and that's one of the things that should always be there, is everyone's path, everyone's choice on how they want to live and what direction they want to go should be afforded to them. I believe people are inherently good. So if you believe people are inherently good and you help them understand how to go a direction with their path, then they're inherently going to do something good with it. But if you're disconnected spiritually, then mentally you're affected. Your path is now a little rockier. Emotionally, you won't be able to balance yourself in the ways you need. To master life, you have to master your emotions a lot of times. And if you can't master your emotions, a lot of things I'm guilty of it, who's not? A lot of things go awry and you make mistakes that you regret. And then finally, if those type of things are so off base for long enough, all of a sudden physically, you start to have real problems as well. And so we as a civilization, we as people always have to remember that there is a hierarchy, and we have to constantly strive to find a balance between that. If not, healing can't happen. The type of healing that goes beyond just pain. Deep healing. Healing that actually helps empower you in a direction of happiness. We need as people to seek happiness. And the opportunity to do that comes from healing ourselves, comes from healing our friends, comes from healing our family, and comes from caring for one another. And once more of that happens, that is at its essence, at its core belief for me on how you can grow a new humanity, how you can grow people. And when you grow people, the world can change. But we have to remember it only can change if it's about the right type of message.
Let's see. Are you vegan? I don't know
No.
why the hell I was thinking. But I was like, man, it's like,
No.
they seem like you vegan.
It's funny though. There's a lot going on in life right now for me. This is one of the most, certainly when I was in school and I was going ham on all the other stuff. It was crazy. But this is another stage where I got a child on the way. I'm running a small business and I'm running for city commission. And it's the middle of all the craziness could go with it. So what I do find myself doing is my diet gets really laser focused when I'm under stress. Only because I don't have time to lose energy, lose focus, be, deterred from my best. And I feel I give my 100% when I'm doing really good with self-care. Does that mean always eating perfect? No, but it means doing your best on a daily basis right now so that I can give myself 100%. I've been vegan in the past. I've been vegetarian in the past. I also believe in convenience sometimes. So
you gotta eat something.
You gotta eat something.
That burrito out of Circle K.
Sure. I mean, right. You got to, and it's hard in Key West because everything's so expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm not. But I do believe in nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, I see. You see, like you're in a great shape. You know what I mean? Like, me, I eat like horrible. Yeah, rice, beans, donuts, pizza, everything.
But what about when you were doing the 7 Mile Bridge?
Man, I eat a pizza before I go around the 7 Mile Bridge. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Well, you got a lot more natural talent than I realized because you still did pretty good.
Yeah, I always told myself, man, if I'm going to do anything, I can't have any excuses. I can't say, because I ate this pizza, I couldn't carry my wife on my shoulder. No, I have to be able to do it. I got to get through it. So I just do it. You know what I mean? One foot in front of the other. That's it, man. I'll get through.
Yeah.
Just like life.
That's mental, right? That's the mental center that you've mastered in a lot of ways.
I'm definitely I know I'm mentally tough, man. I've definitely overcame some of the hardest things to overcome. I know that for sure.
And what do you think that's done for you in your life?
It's a blessing, I gotta thank, that higher being for sure, and I still got some things that I need to get together. Balance is the key. I need to stay working out and whatnot, and that helps, man. Like that helps with the mental, you know. And like you say, diet helps with the mental too. It's like when you take care of your body, you just feel better. Period. Like I'm going to do some exercise today. My problem is staying consistent. I need to stay consistent, but that's neither here nor there.
I could talk about the body all day because it's an incredible feat of orchestration. And consistency is the one thing, discipline and routine. Consistency, discipline, and routine are the 3 things that the body does the best at of anything. You talk about every single day, on routine, our heart beats 100,000 times a day. On routine, our cells continue to turn over. Dedication, discipline. Talk about discipline. Think about what it would be to be a liver cell on Duval Street on a Friday night. Incredible discipline.
Man.
Our bodies have, because they don't give up. They say, well, I'm going to filter all this toxin. I'm going to filter all this booze. You have fun. I got you.
It's taking a left hook, right hook. Oof. Oof.
And unyielding.
Yeah. It's like, come on, give me what you got. That's it.
Unyielding is the sacrifice. And so those inner laws of our body that happen, whether we acknowledge them or not, also in a lot of ways can govern the outer laws of our life. And all of a sudden you say, man, my liver takes one for the team a lot. That's commitment. Do I have that same outside in how I'm going to approach my day? If so, you're really working with the laws of life in a lot of ways. And I try to bring it back to that because I get off track too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Now that I've done one interview with one politician, like everybody feels like I'm the political guru. Yeah, they're coming up to me like, well, what do you think about this? I'm like, listen, I don't know. I'm asking questions. I want everyone to make their own informative decision. I'm just putting the information out there, giving everyone a voice to speak, and and I'm finding out myself, things that I think that people would want to know. You know, it's like, yeah. What do you think about the mask and whatnot? What do you think about that? They got some laws going on right now, punishable up to $500 fine, I believe, if you're caught outside without a mask. You even need to run with the mask now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I'll
Correct.
be running with my mask on. I don't care. Oh well, it is what it is. Oh well.
So it's got to be like altitude training. I have yet to do it. I've yet to go for a run with my mask on.
Try it, man.
You gotta try it. Gotta try it. It's a tough call. It's a very, very tough call. I've said it before. Unprecedented times come decisions that we've never had to make before. Some of these, as we look back, are going to be good choices. Like everything in history, some things we're going to look back and we're going to recognize are bad choices. Me personally, I know how many of my liberties have been taken away already. And my walk to my office in the morning, where I could breathe fresh air and get my head right and start my day, was one of those last things that really, kept me centered through it all. So losing that opportunity has been pretty tough for me, because now I'm constantly always reminded of the fear side of this issue. And hopefully at some point things have gotten worse. They haven't gotten better. We're moving backwards, and it's fair to acknowledge that. And to be honest, there's good reason we're moving backwards, because if our hospital gets overwhelmed, my 86-year-old grandma can't get emergency care. And I think that's the last thing any of us want, is one of our loved ones to be denied medical care when it's a life or death potentially situation. So Key West is in a unique position for that reason, of trying to find a middle ground between safety above all else and then also reopening our economy. And it's an impossible choice, because you can side with safety above all else and then you could see complete economic collapse. Or you could say, well, let's just open back up, and then you could see a lot faster spread and potentially an overwhelm of our hospital, and a worst case scenario, because now we have more deaths. So as we move forward from here, one of the things that we have to recognize is that working together through this issue is not going to be easy. And there's going to be fighting, and there's going to be disagreements. And we might not always like what other people decide. But this isn't about our citizens in Key West. This is about the tourism. This is about the visitors, the travelers that have come down to Key West and so blatantly disrespected people's lives, and no respect for human life or regard for individuals and each other, no honor, nothing. Just, I'm going to do what I want type of approach. And it's created this extreme reaction by the city, because we're just trying to contain that issue, and it's very hard. So it's almost like, well, it's the police. We can't expect the police to just... I've talked to Chief Brandenburg. He's doing an outstanding job, and anyone that doesn't think he is, well, I'll go head to head with you on that discussion any day relative to this issue. I mean, it weighs greatly on his shoulders. It's very apparent he cares immensely about seeing this through the right way. Yet they'll do a great job. They'll go out, hand out 100 masks. They'll tell every tourist, put a mask on. They'll educate them. They'll get people up to speed. They'll make all this progress. What happens 3 days later? Those people are gone. And we have a whole new population in Key West. So we're starting all over again. People aren't getting it. And so as a very unique town that has this situation, I don't think not by a long shot do all cities have this issue. But we do. So now we've created this extreme regulation because we're grasping at straws on how to get these people to comply. And now it's affecting us locals in very negative ways as a result. And it's something that I hope people can have a little more compassion for, that it's not meant to be this, extreme, like lose all your rights, infringement on everything that is freedom. I think it's really just to try to contain such a downward spiral. That's how we're going to protect our citizens on a daily basis relative to tourism, from my perspective.
Yeah, we have a unique economy. It's like you say, a constant rotation of different people from all over the world constantly in the county. And that is a mission to continuously keep them masked up. It's like, how can you? That's a very, very tough one.
Put on a mask, it's the law. When
Yeah.
a police officer or code enforcement can say that to someone that's in town that doesn't care, now they can't say anything about it. They just have to do it. I think a very hot button topic right now that's coming up is the roadblock. This very well could be our last shot at containment before the roadblock goes up. Now, I know most people seem to be in favor of the roadblock. I just want to remind people, though, as important as it might be, if we get overwhelmed, especially for the roadblock to go back up, we are not Miami. We are not Gainesville, Florida. We are not Orlando. We have over 400 restaurants. And when you break that down per capita to people, that's 65 people per restaurant. You look at Miami, it's a whole different ballgame. It's like 16,000 people per one restaurant if you go per capita average. You shut down the Keys again, the locals aren't going to be able to support a restaurant that sees 65 people in a day. Even if everyone pledges to go out 7 nights a week and eat at a restaurant, that's 65 people a restaurant.
Yeah, there's no way they could do that.
It's over.
Yeah.
So, and if people don't realize that lives are going to be destroyed if everything closes too. There are going to be a lot of deaths. There's going to be a lot of mental health issues. There's going to be a lot of chaos. And there's going to be a lot of damage if the roadblock goes up for a whole different reason. Safety above all else still wins. If we have to do it, we have to do it. But I would like to be there to be just a little more tolerance to the acknowledgement that lives are being ruined either way. And that all that we're trying to do right now is move forward in a way that ruins as few lives as possible, because it's ruining lives regardless. So how do we find a balance? And the only answer I have is that we really start to try to work together a little more, and we don't just take our side. Because most of the time, from my perspective, what I see people's side is just their interest. I have suffered substantially when it comes to revenue to my business. But I'm saying I'll support a roadblock if it happens, because even though it's not my ideal to maybe go out of business myself, I understand that safety is really important. And if people that understand that safety is really important could also understand that there's thousands of people's lives that are going to be decimated and destroyed if we go to the point where the roadblock goes up again, then maybe we could just see a little bit. We could come to the table and have a little bit more of a conversation with one another and not be so mad and angry and so aggressive, because it's accomplishing less because of it.
So the masks have to stay on then.
The masks have to stay on.
The masks have to stay on
QS.
all times. I mean, so it seems like that must be the reasoning behind, the ticketing and whatnot. But I see that they only issued. I read somewhere that it was 9. They issued 9 tickets to visitors, 14 to local businesses on Duval Street. I guess I feel like it's more like a little shock therapy they're trying to do out there. You know what I mean? Just to get people in order and whatnot,
Yes.
I feel for people, but I myself, when you see me,
Yeah.
I will be masked up. No tickets.
You got a mask with your logo on there?
Well, I haven't.
Oh,
I need to look into that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Definitely.
Yeah. And commissioners are different people. So I think that's part of what happens when you get into a profession that really your philosophies, your belief systems have a lot to do with how you govern. That's true with my business. My philosophies, my belief systems, my approach to life governs how I run my business. Being in the position to be a commissioner is similar. And so it's what do you believe in will have a lot to do with what gets accomplished. And so for me, in my district, what is there to accomplish? Well, there's the straightforward stuff like roads and sidewalks, right? Parking. I think roads and sidewalks are going to come with the change in infrastructure, relative to our environment. Those are going to have to change anyways. We're going to have to elevate. We're going to have to redrain. We're going to have to do things infrastructure-wise anyways. So that's going to start to happen regardless. I'd love the opportunity to see that through because that's not an overnight fix, but that's something that's important certainly to the district. But then you talk about other things. Well, Harris School, certainly. And when I was a kid, it was the coolest hurricane shelter ever. I didn't get a chance to go to school there, but I still think it's a historic monument. And the mess that is that school should be addressed just out of simple respect for all the people that went there and how incredible of a building it really is. Upper and middle Duval, certainly important. We've been talking a lot about business, so people, I would hope, know where my heart is at relative to that. Bahama Village. I'm a big believer, and this is, I guess, where it comes down to, as a commissioner, where you see yourself. I'm a big believer in programs, not projects. So for me, we talk about our kids and chance to see a better way for our younger population. Well, for me, I think a lot of that's possible in Bahama Village. Our kids need more positive outlets. I mean, half of what you have in this room, I don't know what it does technology-wise, but you do for a good reason. You're passionate, and you informed yourself, and you've created a really professional setup here, a really professional studio. I want our kids to start to learn more of those same things for themselves. Like you talk about STEM classes, right? The village has many different rooms that we could start to put programs together for, outlets, constructive, vocational things that could make a difference for them. So science, technology, engineering, math, things like that. So can we create that? Something also cool that I've thought and I've heard. Have you ever heard of Raspberry Pi?
Like the Pi?
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah.
But what it is, they're computers that you can learn, and pretty straightforward. You can learn how to build. They're cheap. They're less than $100.
Oh, that's awesome.
You build them, and then you can word process on them, or you can design them to then draw on them, or do stuff. So you build them, and then you get to use them. And obviously in a rapidly evolving climate like technology, it would be cool to turn kids on to things like Raspberry Pi. Not the sugar, not for breakfast, like I mentioned, but for their future. Entrepreneurship, why not have, programs for entrepreneurship, for empowering our kids to be able to come back. John Wilson Smith, he's one of the candidates. He's the other one, besides me, that's running against Peyton Lopez. He said two things that I really identify with, and to be honest with you, I support. And if I win, I would actually like to be able to bring some of his suggestions into my campaign and my projects. One was, he said soul food restaurants back in Bahama Village. He wants to see more soul food. Well, I want to see more people that are empowered through the opportunity to have constructive support systems. It's always, when you're a kid, it's about having an opportunity or missing an opportunity in every way. If you can create opportunities, people can take advantage of them, then they can do things good with them. And each year, the more opportunities relative to the amount of missed opportunities that happen really can have a lot to do with someone's long-term success in life. Do people believe that? Do people want to believe that? I don't know. I do. Because for me, the more opportunities I take advantage of, the more success I have. And I'm not saying monetarily, I'm just saying personally, and I want to see more of that for our children, to have those outlets and to have those opportunities so that they can have those outlets to be able to be creative, to be able to be connected, to be able to be passionate, to be able to create progress in ways that is constructive in their life. So he said, mention a soul food restaurant. Well, that sounds amazing. But what I want is to see programs that bring soul food restaurants back to Bahama Village, because we've created a sustainable model to allow things like that to happen again. Another thing you mentioned was the band room and the museum. Well, I think arts are one of the most beautiful things that people could get, turned on to in life at a young age. And is it the utmost priority to build a museum right now? Well, history is important. We need to learn from our history. But we also rapidly need to create a new mindset when it comes to helping our children right now. So I certainly honor and learn from history. But right now, my focus is on trying to pull us out of this, downward spiral. And so I think the music side is beautiful. And I'd love to work with him when I become commissioner and see a lot of that become a reality, along with many other things relative to Bahama Village, but other part of the districts, the Petronia corridor over there, where Blue Heaven is, and at the corner where that I guess it's called Ram's Head now, that side is changing. They're trying to rezone it right now. I don't feel like it's being rezoned for the better. I think it's actually going to be rezoned at the detriment of the people in that area, not only the people that live in the affordable housing there.
How's it getting rezoned? Oh yeah, you got affordable housing right there.
You got affordable housing right there, and then behind that, right there, you have all the residents. Well, it's getting rezoned in a way that potentially sets it up to be more of an entertainment complex than it is now. My personal belief is we have enough entertainment complexes, and they're called Duval Street. And we've tried to, in the past, when I was a kid, turn that Petronia corridor into a mini Duval Street. It didn't work, nor should it work now. And not only nor should it work now, but if you do start doing that, then you disturb the affordable housing and then the residents over there in ways that affect their quality of life in major ways. And as much as important that is, what happens when you're playing loud music at nighttime and a kid's trying to do their homework and study and they can't anymore when before they could? When it's not necessary, right? Do we need that development, more of that? I don't see it. What I see is we need more education. We need more positive support systems. And if there's ever a time when I have to choose, for me, it's always going to be towards programs and support for people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of that Bahama Village thing, part of the important approach. Affordable housing is another important approach for the district and for everywhere in Key West. Our workers have to live where they work and work where they live, critically.
Now, how does it work? Do you you don't make the decision though, right? Like commissioner, like you bring it, you like, okay, it's 6 commissioners and the mayor.
Correct. And you vote.
You all vote?
You all vote. And then the mayor is tiebreaker. But what you're doing, you're also behind the scenes influencing and trying to push the agenda you believe in. So if I deeply believe in affordable housing, then I want to see that become a reality. And I want to use all my time and resources relative to what I have at my disposal to create something like that.
What do you think about the job the mayor's doing right now?
Something I'm really impressed is that she's willing to stand tall for her decisions and get behind her choices and do what she thinks best. I think that's admirable. I think there's a lot of people that that find themselves in politics that always kind of waver side to side. And once again, decisions she's making, there's no precedent for. And I know people don't like all those decisions like we talked about earlier relative to the mask law. I know people don't like that, but it's not because of our citizens. And that people got to remember, it's not because of the locals that anything like this has taken place. It's because of the visitors unwilling to comply and us doing everything we can at a last resort not to put the roadblock back up. Because I think that's where we're about where we're at. It's either going to be a roadblock because masks everywhere doesn't work, or it's going to be masks everywhere work. Our hospital doesn't get overwhelmed or overloaded like it potentially could, and then we can slowly go back to normal. I don't see any other way other than putting the roadblock back up, and when that happens, like we talked about earlier, with 64 people per small business or per restaurant, you might as well lock the doors on tons of people and destroy lives other ways. So once again, there's two ways to look at it. I hate walking to work every day with a mask on. Don't get me wrong. It's, like I said, it's one of my favorite things to do. But I'm trying to take a compassionate approach to the regulation. I personally suggested the opposite, which was not the opposite, but a little different variation, which was just like we have fantasy zones for Fantasy Fest, the clothing optional zones. We had mask zones where if you're in these zones, which could be very similar to exactly the fantasy zones, you have to wear a mask in those zones. So that would probably be a happy medium there. She's sitting down day to day with the statistics, the doctors, the hospitals. She has so much inside track information, so she's really seeing the statistics. So maybe what she sees means not just zones, but a complete restriction of the entire island was what was necessary.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, as the mayor, I mean, can't make everybody happy. No choice that she makes is going to be the perfect choice. There's always going to be somebody that's going to complain. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. I mean, I understand. You know what I mean? But I'm a different breed. I kind of understand things that I shouldn't even really understand. But it's like, man, it's like you say, it's easy. Roadblock or masks everywhere. It's crazy. It's
crazy. But
crazy.
Do you feel that way? That we're at that crossroads where it's roadblock or masks everywhere in Key West?
Yeah, I do. I feel like if not, it's going to spread. It's like it's something that spreads. It's like sickness, and it's like if you see the numbers just continuously going up, you have to take drastic measures because, like you say, there's no end in sight.
No end
in sight. You
got to
end it.
Before I close out, let me just speak on cruise ships because I think that's not specific to the district. Once again, it's
kind of close though, right?
Sure, it affects the district.
Yeah,
it affects it. It goes back to my beginning opening where I mentioned, well, as much as I got into focus on the district, it's become so many more of the issues are Key West issues and district issues. So cruise ships is an example of that. Key West needs to be in the driver's seat relative to responsible cruise ship management. That's my position. What that means is that we cannot be at the mercy of what the cruise ships decide is acceptable relative to the regulations moving forward dealing with COVID-19. Instead, we have to be the ones deciding what's acceptable. And that comes from responsible cruise ship management. The mayor debate, something I found interesting. Terry Johnson was saying, we were talking to the cruise ship companies about the real possibility of one of the referendums being the cleanest environmental ships. And they said, yeah, we can do that. We'll do that. We can bring them in. And then the conversation came up, well, if you can do that, why haven't you before? And their response was, well, you just never asked. To me, that says all you need to know. All of a sudden, we just never asked, so we just got the major polluters. Cruise ships are incredibly polluted for people that don't understand that. They make up 1% of the maritime fleet, but yet they're responsible for 25% of the pollution. And they pollute in really 3 ways, but 2 main ways all the time. One, through the air, and they're just below EPA requirements through that. But then the way they get away with getting rid of the rest of their pollution is that they recycle it and push it into the water. So they pollute 2 ways constantly. And then that helps them get through under. So they're just below the threshold on air and they're just below the threshold on water, but they're polluting both simultaneously. And then they're also dumping their trash and their waste and all that they say they don't do. But obviously they've had fined millions of dollars. So that's constantly happening. But until now, we just let them do it. And then they build up the silt and it goes on the coral. So we've let them do it. But now, all of a sudden, we see the possibility. What next is happening is the possibility for the 2 other referendums to pass, which is smaller amount of people coming to the island.
Hello? Hello? Yep, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'll close this out. So what happens now is the last referendum, which comes to the last 2 referendums, which come to the less people able to come to the island every day. My personal belief is 1.2, 1.5 million people off cruise ships a year on an island is pretty intense. It's pretty heavy for our infrastructure and for our little island to be able to sustain. The next 15, 20 years for our island should be focused more towards sustainability. The shift away from an Orlando, the shift away from a Las Vegas, the shift away from a Magic City, those type of things, the shift away from those type of tourist models should happen here. Because if it doesn't, we're just going to continue to degrade and destroy our island when its resources are already getting close to tapped. I support smaller, safer cruise ships for that reason, because I want to see a reboot or a remix to what's possible for our island that isn't based around mass tourism that spends ultimately 8% maybe of our budget, even though it's half the population of tourists that comes in a year. I want to see the possibility for there to be other opportunities for tourism experiences and higher quality possibly too. But above and all else, and why this happened, also for health reasons, because as much as cruise ships are going to be very concerned and create regulations when they come here again, right? If they're still in the driver's seat about us infecting them, because they don't want to go back out and be another plague ship and have all that bad publicity. So they're going to have tons of regulations on how they're not going to let us affect them or infect them. And most of us equally should and are concerned about them infecting us. So what choice do we have then to be in the driver's seat and be able to start to dictate the terms of this situation and not be at the mercy, once again, of just another corporate interest? Because that's ultimately, to me, what it comes down to. It's a massive corporate interest that has a terrible environmental record. And honestly, at this point, how serving is it to us? There'll be issues when it comes to budgets, though, for sure, because of it. I'm really concerned about the opportunities for losing funding when we're already in a funding crisis, but we're at that crossroads, and that decision needs to be made, and so that's why I've come out in support of it. And I'm also the only candidate in my district who signed the petition, who signed all 3 petitions. So on the record, I'm for it, but I'm also for, sitting here today as well.
Before we close out, you mentioned that you have a baby on the way.
Absolutely.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
You heard the name?
Lucas Jeffrey.
Lucas Jeffrey.
Barnett.
Amazing thing. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's
been ready for a long time.
Yes, I could imagine at this point, boy, you're real close now. Yeah, you're ready to see little Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations to
Thank
you and your wife, definitely. And thank you for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Barnett. Round of applause, please. So once again, thank you for coming on the show, Ryan. Ryan has informed the people definitely very well. I hope you guys have retained some information. I know I have. I want to thank you all for watching. As always, I'm DP, Ryan Barnett, QS Chiropractics, Commissioner for District 6. We out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome.
Now I'm going to get my cheese toast and my lard.
Did my best.